You were never supposed to fight this hard to lose weight, to have the body you want. And what I'm about to show you is the reason you've been fighting a war. You were never meant to win alone. Because if you've done the diets, the keto, the fasting, the calorie counting, if you've dragged yourself to workouts at 5 in the morning and watched the scale barely move, or watched it go down and still felt the same, still looked the same, still carried that weight around your midsection that won't budge no matter what you do, I need you to hear this. That wasn't you failing. Something deeper has been working against you this whole time. And until now, nobody has explained what it actually is or what to do about it. There's a peptide in clinical trials right now that people are finding doesn't just suppress appetite. It actually repairs the broken signaling system that made your body gain weight and refuse to let it go. And it does something that Ozempic and Mounjaro physically cannot do. It's called Retatrutide. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why it's different. Quick note before we go further. I'm not a doctor. This is informational content for personal research, not medical advice. You are your own health advocate. Always do your own due diligence. Everything I'm sharing comes from publicly available clinical trial data and conversations happening in the health community. Now, in this video, I'm going to walk you through why your body has been defending your fat like a survival instinct, because that's exactly what it is. I'm going to break down what I call the triple lock metabolism, 3 locks that control everything, and why Ozempic only opens one of them. And I'm going to show you what Retatrutide actually does at the cellular level that makes it fundamentally different from anything else out there. And stay with me until the end, because even if you get every single one of those locks open, there's one thing that will slam them all shut again while you sleep. And almost nobody is connecting this piece to the rest of the puzzle. Let me get personal with you for a second. I have PCOS and insulin resistance. I carry weight right in my stomach. I've literally looked like I'm in my first trimester for years. I've done keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting, supplements, exercise, you name it. My fasting glucose, still over 100, every single time. I'm hungry every 4 hours no matter what I eat. Nothing has fixed my metabolism, and I was exhausted until I started digging into what Retatrutide actually does at the cellular level. And that's when everything changed for me. All right, here's the question nobody asks. And it's the most important question in all of fat loss. And it's the question nobody in the diet industry wants you to ask. Why does your body store fat in the first place? And before you say, because I eat too much, that's the answer you've been given for 50 years. Eat less, move more, try harder. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. That advice is trying to use software to fix a hardware problem. Willpower is software. Your hormones are hardware. And your hardware was built for a world that doesn't exist anymore. For most of human history, the #1 killer was starvation. The ancestors who survived, the ones who passed their DNA down to you, were the most efficient fat-storing machines the planet has ever seen. Your genetics aren't broken. They're flawless. They're just flawless for surviving a famine that's never coming. What we're seeing now is what many researchers call a biological mismatch. Your body is waiting for a food shortage, and instead it's getting DoorDash. So when you cut calories or go on another strict diet, your body doesn't celebrate. It panics, hunger hormones spike, energy crashes, cravings hit like a wall. And here's the part that should genuinely bother you. Your body will burn your own muscle before it touches your fat. Why? Because muscle is metabolically expensive. It costs energy just to maintain. Fat is cheap storage. So your body goes, I can afford to lose muscle. I cannot afford to lose this stored energy. The scale goes down. You feel like it's working, but what actually happened? You lost water, you lost muscle, you lost bone density, and maybe 25 to 30% of what you lost was actual fat. That's not weight loss. That's your body cannibalizing itself while protecting the very thing you're trying to get rid of. But here's where it gets really interesting, because there's a reason nothing has worked the way you thought it would. And it has everything to do with how your metabolism is actually locked. Think of your metabolism like a vault with 3 separate locks on the door. To actually open it, to actually reset how your body handles fat, you need all 3 keys turning at the same time. Not 1, not 2, 3. I call this the triple lock metabolism. So let's talk about what's out there right now and why it's not enough. Semaglutide. That's the drug behind Ozempic and Wegovy. It has one key. It works on something called the GLP-1 receptor. And the easiest way to think about GLP-1 is this. It's your body's I'm full signal. When you eat, your gut sends this message to your brain that says, we got food. Slow down. Stop looking for more. It also helps keep your blood sugar steady and calms down inflammation in a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. That's the command center that controls your hunger, your metabolism, and even your sleep-wake cycle. When the hypothalamus is inflamed, every signal it sends gets distorted. GLP-1 helps quiet that down. One key, one lock. And it does help people lose weight, roughly 10 to 15% of their body weight according to published data. But here's what most people aren't told. A big chunk of what you're losing on Ozempic isn't fat. It's muscle, it's bone density, it's water. And the moment you stop taking it, your body snaps right back to where it was because the actual problem was never fixed. Ozempic turned down the hunger, but it never repaired the broken metabolic signaling underneath. Then there's tirzepatide. That's Mounjaro. This one has 2 keys. It works on GLP-1, the same I'm full signal, plus a second receptor called GIP, which stands for gastric inhibitory polypeptide. Now, GIP is like a traffic cop for energy. Its job is to help regulate your insulin secretion and tell your fat cells what to do with incoming fuel. Do we store it or do we burn it? And when GLP-1 and GIP work together, something interesting happens. Instead of storing more fat, the synergy between these 2 receptors actually enhances lipolysis. That's your body's process of breaking down stored fat and using it for fuel. Think of it this way. GLP-1 says, we've eaten. GIP says, great. Let's only keep what we need and burn the rest. 2 keys. Average weight loss around 20%. Better. The vault door cracks open a little more, but it's still not fully open. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, so what's the 3rd key? The 3rd key is the one that changes everything, and most people are terrified of it for the completely wrong reasons. It's called glucagon. Here's why people are scared of it. Glucagon is known for raising blood sugar. And if your metabolic system is already dysfunctional, yeah, it can do that. But here's what most people don't realize. When the glucagon receptor is activated at the exact same time as GLP-1 and GIP, it does something completely different. It becomes your body's built-in fat-burning furnace. Here's what that looks like in plain English. Glucagon goes to your liver and says, all that fat you've been hoarding, start burning it now. That process is called hepatic fat oxidation. It's your liver literally breaking down its own stored fat for fuel. Then glucagon turns up something called thermogenesis. That's your body generating heat by burning energy, even while you're sitting on the couch doing nothing. And here's the big one. It activates a gene called PGC1 alpha, which triggers a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. In simple terms, mitochondria are the tiny power plants inside every cell that create energy. And this gene tells your body to build more of them. More power plants means more fuel being burned around the clock. It's like upgrading from a golf cart to a race car. And that increase in energy burning capacity is one of the key markers researchers look at for long-term metabolic health and longevity. Retatrutide is the first triple receptor agonist. It activates GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon simultaneously. 3 keys, 3 locks. The whole vault swings open, and the numbers are staggering. In the Phase 2 trial, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, participants on the highest dose lost an average of 24.2% of their body weight in 48 weeks. That's nearly 1 out of every 4 pounds. Gone. More than 9 out of 10 participants lost at least 10% of their body weight. And it gets even bigger. In December 2025, Eli Lilly announced results from their Phase 3 Triumph-4 trial. Participants on the 12 milligram dose lost an average of 28.7% of their body weight. That's an average of over 71 pounds. Now, most people hear that number and they think that's the story. It's not even close. That's just what you can see on the outside. What I'm about to show you is what's happening on the inside. And honestly, this is the part that could change everything for women like us. But here's where I need you to really lock in, because the weight loss isn't even the main event. It's the side effect. The real story is what's happening under the hood. Let me break down what each key actually does inside your body, and I'm going to explain it so a 7th grader could follow along. Imagine your body has a delivery system. When you eat, sugar enters your blood, and insulin is the delivery driver. Its job is to pick up that sugar and drop it off at your cells so they can use it for energy. Simple. That's how it's supposed to work. But when you have insulin resistance, and if you have PCOS, there's a very good chance you do, it's like your cells change the locks. The delivery driver shows up, but the door won't open. So the sugar just sits in your blood, piles up, goes nowhere. Your body makes more and more insulin trying to force those doors open, and it still doesn't work. That's why your fasting blood sugar stays stuck above 100 no matter how clean you eat. And when those numbers won't budge, that's insulin resistance running the show. What people are finding with Retatrutide is that it helps your cells open those doors again, restoring what's called insulin sensitivity at the receptor level. Your body stops screaming and starts working like it's supposed to. For someone like me, that alone is life-changing. But it doesn't stop there. Think of leptin like a fuel gauge in a car. Its one job is to tell your brain, hey, we have plenty of gas in the tank. We're good. No need to stop for more. When that gauge is working, you eat when you're hungry, you stop when you're full, and life makes sense. But here's what happens when that gauge breaks. And it breaks a lot in women dealing with chronic inflammation and metabolic stress. Your brain can't read it anymore. It's like driving with a fuel gauge stuck on empty, even when the tank is completely full. So, your brain panics. It floods you with hunger signals, cravings, food obsession, because as far as it knows, you're running on fumes. Even if you're carrying 100 extra pounds of stored energy, that's not you being weak. That's a broken gauge. Specifically, the leptin signal can't reach your hypothalamus, that command center in your brain we talked about earlier. So, your hunger regulation just falls apart. Doctors call this leptin resistance, and it's one of the biggest hidden drivers of weight gain that almost nobody explains properly. What people are finding is that Retatrutide helps restore leptin sensitivity in the hypothalamus. The fuel gauge starts working again. Your brain stops screaming for food and starts actually knowing what your body has. For the first time in years, you can trust your own hunger. But this next part, this is the one that genuinely blew my mind. Most weight loss drugs stay below the neck. They work on your gut or your pancreas. Retatrutide doesn't stop there. It crosses what's called the blood-brain barrier, your brain's security system, and reaches your central nervous system directly. Specifically, two areas: the hypothalamus, which controls your hunger and metabolism, and the hippocampus, which processes your emotions. That's why a bad day sends you straight to the pantry. That's why stress makes you eat, even when you're not hungry. And here's the connection nobody is making: the brain fog, the exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, the emotional roller coaster, the nights you can't stop thinking about food. A growing body of research suggests all of that is being driven by neuroinflammation, silent, chronic inflammation inside the brain itself, triggered by stress, high blood sugar, gut issues, and poor sleep. What people are finding is that retatrutide's GLP-1 receptor activity appears to quiet that neuroinflammation at the source. Not mask it, actually calm it. So you're not forcing yourself to say no. You're eating less because your brain isn't on fire anymore. The noise just stops. But, and I need you to hear this part, even with all of that working in your favor, there is one thing that will single-handedly destroy every bit of progress you make. And it's the thing almost nobody talks about: sleep. That's the wrecking ball nobody sees coming. You can reset your insulin, you can restore your leptin, you can reduce every ounce of neuroinflammation in your brain. But if your sleep is garbage, truly garbage, your body will undo all of it every single night. Here's what most people don't know. Your body pulses growth hormone during deep delta sleep. That's when cellular repair happens. That's when your muscles recover. That's when your hormones reset for the next day. If you're not hitting deep sleep, and most adults are not, you're trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open, and the cascade is brutal. Poor sleep spikes cortisol, high cortisol spikes blood sugar, high blood sugar spikes insulin. And elevated insulin, that's the exact hormonal cocktail that tells your body to store fat and never, ever let it go. So even if you have the most powerful metabolic reset tool on the planet working for you, if your sleep is sabotaging your hormones every night, you're running on a treadmill that's going backward. This is exactly why I built my 30-day sleep and symptom tracker. I realized my sleep was quietly wrecking everything I was trying to fix. The tracker helps you spot the hidden patterns, what's actually disrupting your rest, so you can stop guessing and start making real progress. It's free. The link is right below in the description. Grab it.